Hello, Dad. This is Jay Warren. This is the Dadhood Journey podcast, and today's topic is this: dirty laundry, food crumbs, and plastic toys everywhere. Let's do it.
Hi, my name's Nico, and you're listening to my dad, Jay Warren. This is the Dadhood Journey podcast. Thanks for listening.
Yep. So let's face it, Dad. Parenthood and family life is messy. And I don't mean in the metaphorical sense in that it gets complicated. I mean in a physical sense, it's just messy. There's messes everywhere all the time, it seems. And I can remember when Nico was born, I kind of laughed at my friends. I might have said this before in the podcast. I was one of the last of my circle of friends to have kids, and I got tons of advice and stories from them about parenthood, and all of it was very helpful. A lot of it I didn't believe, and now I'm biting my tongue or eating humble pie, whatever the expression is, that they were totally right. And one of them was just how messy parenthood is. And I honestly didn't get it. Everyone had said in parenthood, you do so much laundry. There's always so much laundry to do. And I remember before Nico was born, looking at all the clothes that we had. And we had the newborn stuff, the 3 to 6 month stuff. We even had older than 6 month stuff all ready to go. And I looked at all of it. I'm like, this is one load of laundry. How could you do so much laundry? It's just one little kid and there's only this much clothes. What are these people talking about? And then I had a kid, and I realized where all the laundry comes from. It's not only does the kiddo, especially in the infant stage and the newborn stage, or let's face it, in the first year, not only are they making a mess of themselves, so they're spilling stuff all over their clothes, they're throwing up on themselves, they're spitting up, all that good jazz, but they're doing it on you, too. So then you're washing your clothes because baby just spit up on you. And then they're, messing up the sheets, the blankets, all the burp cloths, the couch, things that are all over the place. There's just so much laundry to do. And then when your kid starts eating food and they are either in the high chair or they're in the car seat and they're munching on things, man, there's just so much food that gets everywhere. And it feels like you're always cleaning up crumbs. You're finding food and chunks of things in the weirdest little spaces. I heard a joke that someone said that trail mix was actually something that a parent came up with after digging through the backseat of their car and looking at all the nuts and dried berries and M&Ms and things like that. And they're like, if this was fresh, this actually might be kind of good. And it's totally true. I mean, I remember there was a time when we were transferring car seats at the preschool. We only had one car seat at the time. And so I would drop Nico off at school, take the car seat with me, put it in a room so his mom could pick him up and put the car seat in there. And the car seat seems normal, and it just kind of is. You don't think of it as being dirty. You put your kid in and no big deal. But then once it was outside of the car and I was realizing other people were looking at it and seeing it in a room outside of the car, I realized just how filthy it was. I mean, just gross. And you pick up and the base, you pick it up at an angle and just food falls out of it. It's nasty. And then the toys. Oh my God, toys are everywhere around the house. And, it was kind of one of the normal rituals, not so much when they're infant because they don't have as much stuff, although you put a lot of stuff in the car seat to try and amuse them, or in the carrier so that when they're someplace they'll have something to play with, so you can have a moment to do whatever you're doing out on your errands. But especially when they get into the crawling, walking, toddler and beyond stage, there's just toys everywhere. And yes, I'm a huge proponent of teaching Nico clean up one thing before you move on to the next. But let's face it, that does not always work. Or just even in the backyard. I mean, at the end of the day, that ritual of cleaning up after the kids have gone to sleep. Like the backyard itself is just like a minefield of toys. And we have a dog as well. So there's like chew toys and, doggy balls and all those kind of things, as well as Nico's stuff that he's playing with. They're just everywhere. And, now that Nico's into Legos, I mean, his room there's tons of Legos. We put a ton away, but like, of course, the one that's left out, you step on in the middle of the night barefooted, right? There's just a lot of stuff everywhere, dads. And so if you're a new dad, I'm saying this out loud to you so you can be prepared for it, that's what it is. And I bring this up for two reasons. One is, hey, it's a natural way of things. Life is just going to be messier in the house once you have a kid. And I only have one. I can't even imagine with 2 and 3 and 4 and beyond. And so accepting that rather than struggling against it is very, very wise. Not that you should just let the whole house go crazy, but taking the reins off of things and just kind of allowing it to be at a different level of cleanliness, which is, compared to the old way, probably very unclean. But it's just, there's a lot of time and energy wasted in trying to keep everything spick and span and super tidy that could be spent on decompressing at the end of the day. It could be spent on like having time to just chat with your spouse. It can be spent sleeping, those kind of things. There's just so much to do all the time that it can feel really relentless, and it can feel like you're never winning. And that's just the way it is. So I want to say that out loud to you. But the second reason why I bring this up specifically to toys is something that's kind of popularly known as simplicity parenting, or just even bringing simplicity to parenthood and family life, is having less stuff. You can have less clothes and you just wash the same clothes more often. And I think that's super value. It just makes life easier if you just have a certain amount of clothes. You're not endlessly having more and more clothes, and then you do laundry and it takes forever because you're doing like tons of loads and you have to, fold and all that stuff. But especially toys. Tons of child researchers or child psychologists and researchers will talk about how sometimes clutter in the house, meaning like toys clutter, can be aggravating and irritating to a kid. There's just so much stimuli that overloads their system and can make them into that kind of short attention span theater kiddo more so than they already are, because there's so many options and so many choices. They just like bounce onto things, versus if there's less, they play with those things maybe a little longer. But if they do grow bored with the toys that they have, rather than just going on to the next and the next to more, and then creating more mess that you got to either manage and help your kid manage or clean up yourself, if there's less then in that boredom, then they have the opportunity to become more creative and to play with that same stuff in a different way, or to play a different thing in a new way, or to, amuse themselves. And there's tons of value in that. I don't know the author of the book, but there is a great book that was given to me even before I had kids called Simplicity Parenting. It's been really helpful just to kind of give an excuse to having less stuff and not get caught in the kind of treadmill of just like buying more and more stuff. And of course, like there's that phase where your kids outgrow the toys that you have. They're just beyond it, and so you need new stuff. But I implore you, Dad, like get rid of the old stuff. If you're thinking of having other kids, then you box it up and you store it. If it's stuff that's still, clean and in good condition, that kind of stuff. But if it's kind of your kid wasn't interested in it, you didn't like playing with it, they didn't like playing with it, it's worn out, it's beat up, donate it, get rid of it, instead of like accumulating so much. Or if like say with me, like Nico, like a one and done, like there's there's no reason to hold on to stuff that he's not going to play with anymore because he's not 2 years old anymore. So we give a lot of our stuff away, either donating it to the, kind of local community center, kind of like a Goodwill type of thing, or, more so what we do is we have friends with kiddos that are younger, so we give it to them. And we have friends that have kiddos that are bigger than Nico, and so we get hand-me-downs for them. So it's kind of this like pay it back, pay it forward type of thing. But as far as the messes are going to happen. They're going to be a part of parenthood, and the sooner you're able to flex with that and be okay with it not being perfect, the better your stress levels are going to be, I assure you. But then also a way of helping that is to be as simple as possible. Simple meaning you don't let it stress you out as much if things aren't perfect, but also simple in having less and not having as much to manage, as much to just physically put away, but also not as much to potentially overstimulate your kid and have them, kind of be all over the place and just going from pile to pile to pile, and then having just a crazy mess that you got to deal with at the end of the day, and at the end of every day, right? So that's my message for today about all those, the dirty laundry, the crumbs everywhere, toys everywhere. It's part of dadhood. It's part of family life. It also means you have a lot, that you have abundance in order to be able to have those kind of messes, but don't let it get in your head. If it is, try and be more mellow about it. And if that isn't working, try and have less. That's my words of advice for today. So until next time, Dad, take good care of yourself and take good care of your family, and we'll connect on the next episode.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. You can hang out with other dads in our Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search for the Dadhood Journey, and apply to get in. See you there, and see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Perfect.
There you go, Dan.